I just wanted to put this on the list because I think it's so important to remember your roots and where you started. And for me, when I was something like 12 or 13, I'm a Welshie, you wouldn't know, you can't really hear it. My parents are Londoners, but we lived down in Wales, and every Christmas we'd go up to London because my parents were from Chiswick and all around that way in London. And my Uncle Dan, my mum's brother, he would say, right, I need to go and buy some fancy shirts in London because he works in finance and stuff. But if you're good for the day, we'll go to a certain place afterwards. I was like, all right, okay. This is like day after Boxing Day or something. And we go to a magical place called Hamleys. And we went in and we were just looking at toys. We weren't looking at magic. I don't think I was really into it. I might have had a Paul Daniels set, but I wasn't into it. And then we see this chap demoing one trick, which we bought straight away, along with a wizard deck, which is a taper deck. Now, look, I know this is so, in a sense, out there because you think, oh, what do you do? It is a phenomenal bit of engineering and it's beautiful. It's great. And that is truly what got me into all of this.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Desert Island Tricks. Today's guest is someone that we actually saw a few weeks ago at the Blackpool Magic Convention. He had his own stand there, and I realised he was literally around releasing his own things when I started in this game. And it was only after I got back from Blackpool that I started researching, and I looked at his products and I went, oh my God, yes, Gunslinger. Oh my God, yes. Oh my God, yes. And I literally went through his back catalogue, and then I remember I watched his At the Table lecture, and I remember absolutely loving it because it was a departure from the kind of things that I'd looked at that time as well. And it was only at that time that I realised he must have kind of diverted away from the magic community and then come back. And when we were at Blackpool, he showed me two incredible tricks. So he showed me Flash, which is a brilliant bill change. I would say it's a receipt to bill change. I've actually got it in my wallet right now, and I absolutely love it. And we've got Hero Reveals as well, which was a brilliant card effect, or series of effects, actually. There's lots that you can do with them. It was absolutely brilliant, and it's so nice to see him on his own stand, still going, still putting out incredible magic. And I know that this is going to be a really rich list of tricks because we just worked out that he's been in the industry for over 25 years. And in that time, there is no way that you cannot consume an awful lot of magic. So I know this is going to be a great list. He's super lovely as well. So it is the wonderful Chris Webb. Hello, Chris.
Hi there, Jim. How are you, buddy? You all right?
I'm very well. It's great to have you on here. And of course, like I just said, you've been doing this for such a long time.
Yeah, too long, I think. Yeah, we were just trying to work out the maths then.
Yeah, no, I've always done that, and I always performed since quite young and whatever, and I do a mix of, goodness me, kids, adults, kind of stand-up, not illusions. I don't look in the leotard. But yeah, I've done it all, and then obviously the creating side of things, I've always done it. But no, you're right, I took a bit of a step back a few years, and I had like I was doing little bits every now and then, but nothing like I was before. But I just think the whole releasing industry change, not so much the community, but the way it all happened. And I just stepped back to focus on performing, which I think is a good, healthy thing. So, and I've just been more focused on that. But then now you get the little bugs and you want to come back and play with little things. And yeah, it was so good to see you at Blackpool. And yeah.
So when you said that you sort of went into the performance side of it, is that where you're at now? Or are you now focusing back on the creation side of things?
Both actually, yeah. I mean, I've always done the gigs in the background, and that's the main kind of thing that, you know, supports the family as such and whatever. But then with the releasing side of things, because it changed so much, I just didn't do it. But now I'm more back into that. There's a few more bits coming out over the next few months, which you'll start to see around a lot of magic shops. And yeah, and hopefully you'll start to see more bits along the way. But I'm just really cautious now of what I'm putting out, and I want to make sure that it's fun, that it's commercial, it's usable, or if it warrants a revisit, like the build change thing, for example, like Flash. but yeah, I'm just doing that. And like, yeah, I mean, I'm not being boasty, but I got as I was telling you, I got a gig later on. I got a wedding tomorrow and I got a kid show Sunday. So that's the level of different types of magic. I'm not this busy every weekend, but it's just, yeah. So, but I love performing. And I think because I do it because I have multiple kind of incomes of for work wise and stuff like that, I generally get to pick and choose which gigs I do, which is a bit of a pleasure. And I generally, every time I do it, I love doing the shows. Kid shows are nuts. You never know what they're going to say, what they're going to do. Weddings are always a good laugh because they're normally a little bit half cut in some cases. So no, I love doing it. And yeah, tonight's another really good one with a regular client that I do stuff for. So yeah, love it all.
Amazing. Well, it's good to see you back out releasing. And when it comes to your list then, I know that a lot of what you do is quite visual. It's normally quite fun. It's normally quite quirky as well. There tends to be a quirky aspect to your magic. So, and organic as well. You tend to use organic props as well. Certainly in some of your past releases, we've seen you experimenting with everyday objects. So when it comes to your list, what kind of, without giving too much away, what kind of avenue did you go down in order to put the list together?
Yeah, for sure. It was to pick 8 is so much harder.
And I sadly have honorable mentions of a couple things because it was such a struggle. But no, so what I've put on this list are things that I generally do and gig, and things that I think I know that I would just love to keep doing if you are in a situation of these are the only things you can do for the rest of your life. Look, there's loads of things that, as you said, quirky things I come up with, like that solo sandwich thing, for example. And yes, there's spins and other methods and quirky stuff and so on. I like having a joke. I like having a giggle, having a laugh and whatever. But yeah, no, these are all things that I generally perform or stuff I feel like I could not do without, in some sense. Yeah. And again, I perform for adults, kids, so I want to kind of cover a lot of it. There's no, hippity hoppity rabbit stuff, but yeah, it's fun to have loads of things that I genuinely do and use, and a lot of them I will be doing later on. So yeah.
Well, I'm really looking forward to hearing this list. If it's your first time listening, the idea is we're about to maroon Chris on his very own magical island. When he's there, he's allowed to take 8 tricks, banish 1 item, take 1 book and 1 non-magic item that he uses for magic. I think that one's going to be an interesting one, actually, the non-magic item. Because when you think about some of his releases in the past, I think it should be really good. So let's find out. What's in your position number 1, Chris?
So number 1, and these are in no order. This is just everything I kind of put together. So number 1, and I don't do a lot of coins, but is Imagination Coins by Garrett Thomas. Now this is a bit of a cheat as well, because if you know it, you get a special tool you can use from many other coin routines. Think turtle and you're there. And it's just such a great different bit of coin magic. And if people aren't aware, you have 4 coins, and they can be anything, $50, UK currency, euros, whatever you want. And you literally talk about what's imagination and what's reality. And you can show 4 coins in your hand, and then you take your hand out and you put on the spectator's hand, and they hold all 4 coins. You then say, make a fist. You say, I'm going to take one out and put it in my hand. And of course, you say, did I do it, or did you imagine I did it? And of course, you didn't actually do it. Then when you open your hand, the coin is in your hand, and they open their hand, and they only have 3 in theirs. And then again, you do the same thing again for the kind of the next time. But this time they're holding all 4. You take that 1 coin, you visually put it in your hand, and then of course that vanishes and it reappears back in their hand. And you're left super clean, and it's such a powerful moment. And then you can do whatever coin stuff you want to do. But I love that. And along with that, you can do other great things like Daniel Garcia's coin to cross, which I had to jot down the name so I couldn't remember it. Personal Safe. So, which is a great coin to cross if you've never, in spectators' hands, if you've never seen it. So that's a good one. But yeah, Imagination Coins, Garrett Thomas, I think it's brilliant. I remember seeing that at Blackpool years ago. And when he came over, and it absolutely stumped me, and I was like, that's just so good, and instantly bought it. So yeah, and still do it now.
I remember having this conversation with Harry, actually. I don't do a lot of coin magic, but I think if I did do one routine, it would be this one, because I think it's the clarity of what's happening as well. It's kind of like a two-faced thing. It's super clear. It's all in the hands of the spectator.
And I'm going to do more coin magic. I'm going to do more coin magic, but I only just do this. Like, I'm not a three fly kind of guy or that kind of stuff. But I just think because this is so in their hands, and it's so clear, as you said, in what you're saying, what you're doing, it just absolutely slays. And again, across, like, you can do this in any age group, and it's still, because it's more visual than it is, discussion wise. So I honestly, I think it's an absolute gem. I think it's perfect. I think he did an incredible job of making that trick what it is. And yeah. I don't know if a lot of people use it in terms of gigging wise, but I think it's something beautiful. Yeah.
And it had a great trailer. I remember the trailer being really cool as well.
Yeah, as I said, we were saying before as well, I'm a massive nerd on like magic history, tricks, releases, names, and I'm one of these nerds that, like, even somebody says, "Oh, what's this thing with a card?" And no, but I know what it is. I'm one of those ones. But I remember when he was shot, was it with like Cosmo or something? They did the real Magic DVDs, the same. Yeah,
amazing. Well, that's a great one in at number 1. Let's move on to a number 2. What's in your second spot?
Well, I'm going to flip to number 3, but I will come back to number 2 because I just want a good bit of diversion and so on. And actually, and this is not like an affiliated link thing, but Peter will love this. Director's cut. Now, director's cut to me, I use this all the time. I'm a huge film nerd. If it all flip around here, there's movie posters all around this side. But I'm a huge film nerd, and I generally have a pretty decent knowledge of film because I consume too much. I have a 3-phase routine, 2 phases of it, you use director's cut, and it is such a good, and like nobody catches it. And it's just, again, it's a stack of movie posters, film cards, and they can go through, they can, you can cut to one, say stop, they look at the film, and instantly what the film they're thinking of is, and you never see their card and so on. But you can do so much with this, and it's a great conversation piece as well. And I do an extra phase when you get like you can use like a peak wallet, but you could do this in multiple ways where they write down the name of their film. That's their favorite film. That's the first thing, and then you go into director's cut, and I do a couple of phases of that, and then you come back to their film at the end, kind of thing. But it's such a great conversation piece, and sometimes they will pick the film that is within the cards, which is quite rare, but it does happen. So, a director's cut, and I'm sure you're fully aware of director's cut. And I don't know if Peter's ever released this. Have they? I don't know if there's new cards, or I'm a bit off. I need a new set, is what I'm trying to say, Jamie. So,
I believe if we don't have it, we're in the process of getting it reproduced. But what I think was interesting with what you said there is it is a conversation starter.
Yeah.
Because last year we had a trick out called Flicks by Nicholas Mavresis, which is, again, movie themed. And I took it to my restaurant that I work at regularly. And the amount of times a group of people will burst into conversation when you bring the cards out. As you're showing the different films, someone will go, "Oh, I haven't seen E.T." And everyone, "What? You've not seen E.T.? What?
Yeah.
What's going on?" So it really does create conversation. It's brilliant.
It's great. And I remember when Chris Nolan's Dunkirk came out. This is one of these generational films because it was a film that dads were seeing. They were taking their sons to see it, but the granddad was also seeing it too because of obviously the war topic and stuff like that. Kind of like you say from Private Ryan's. But because this came out, you would get 3 generations of a family going to see one film. I saw it in the cinema with my brother-in-law and my father-in-law. We all went to see it together because war films kind of do that thing. I remember distinctly it was like a summer garden party kind of thing and some stately place. And then I got the dad and the son to think of a film, and they both thought of the same one, which is so even better. There was a nice link, and it was all and it flows. But again, like as I said, I'm quite more nerdy, and then so if I know the film, which is a very high chance, I make a joke about I say you pick any film you want to, and I say it's not a French noir, is it? Because if they're doing that, I'm not going to know what it is, and it gets a little giggle, and I go, but people would know. And they go, yeah, whatever. But then you do get some really abstract, out there films that people write down themselves, and some of them are absolutely crazy. But again, having a half decent knowledge of films, they can pick the film, and even with the director's cuts cards, I know all of those films more than well enough to name the actors in them, directors, scores, and things like famous lines from the films, and you can really play with it. So every time you do it, it feels different as well, because you don't know what avenue you're going to go down to, and depending on which one they pick. And yeah, again, like you make a joke about Die Hard being the best Christmas film ever. You know, I don't even say Die Hard. I go the best Christmas film ever, and then you show that one. There's a Bambi joke, which is a bit, 15, so we won't say that. So yeah, I mean, look, director's cut is brilliant. As I said, super conversation piece. It's I think for me, films do that. I can talk about films to the cows come home, and yeah. On the way down to Blackpool, I kid you not, we had a 3.5 discussion about James Bond, and all the films. This is the level where, yeah, honestly, director's cut is so good, and I really hope you guys do put another version. I'd love to. I think even with the same films or different films, I wouldn't care. You'd learn it quite fast. Yeah, I just think it's so good, and I'd love to get a nice set. But they're printed on like a laminated card, and that's why it's lasted me so long. They're like, and because they're blank on the back, that's even a better thing. There's no way that they're marked or anything like that. So yeah, I'd love to see what you guys do, and if get a new version of it. But honestly, director's cut, I love doing it.
Well, it's a great one in number 3, because you said that you're going to skip number 2. So
well, I'll do number 2 now, because I don't want to be too now. Because this might be a little bit too on the nose, too obvious, and I can't say a deck of cards because it feels like a cop out. But for me, and I know there's many discussions which we'll go into now, Omni Deck. Now, when you do close-up gigs, wedding, corporate, all this kind of things, I can't tell you how great Omni Deck is as a closer. I've tried to have so many different kind of closes of an end of a trick of a card routine, because of course you're doing ambitious sandwich, multiple locations with the deck of cards. You have to, like, it's one of the easiest things. You can do a million things with a pack of cards. So, but I always end with Omni, and I know the argument is a lot of people do it, and I think there was a phase, I can't remember, someone did a DVD with it on, and it just became the huge thing of gigging magicians in close up to do this. And I don't think that too many people are doing it. I think that too many people were doing it wrong, in a sense. I think that was one part of it. And I think if you make it a joke and you say, oh, the deck's going to vanish and it's going to go clear and all this stuff like this, the problem is it doesn't vanish, and it just doesn't vanish. It's still there. You got a tangible, you're holding something. So if you go more down a kind of route of you're going to make something solid and you're going to turn it into glass, even though it's perspex, they don't ever question it. If you're on a big table, just drop it on a china plate. It sounds glass, but that's the thing. And I think that was the big thing of it, is if you make it into a solid, impossible object, opposed to it's vanished, it's gone, because it hasn't, it's still there. I think that was a big thing. And I was always feared that with certain tricks, we talk exposure, like Masked Magician, right? And I remember when they revealed the first phase of Coin and Can, Wayne Houchin's Sinful, right? Brilliant piece of close-up magic. And it's great. And I was so scared. I did not perform that for years because I believed that it was out there, the method was out there. And I didn't do it for years. And then I realized, hang on a second, hardly nobody watched this show, especially in the UK, and they saw that one specific clip of an episode. I was completely wrong. And I think that goes back to the Omni thing as well, is of that, have people seen it too much? Has it been too much? I don't think anybody has hardly actually ever seen it. And let's say the average layman sees what? I don't know, 2 magicians in a year, maybe at a Christmas party and at a wedding, right? And is it the high chance they're both going to do the exact same set? I doubt it very much. There might be a couple of things like your double crosses that cross over and so on. But no, I think Omni Deck is absolutely brilliant, and it's the way you do it. And I think that's the big thing on that. It's such a good finisher. And as I said, you get a deck of cards with it because you need it. So you're kind of cheating with a deck of cards, and now you're on an item with a deck of cards, which can't be a bad thing. But if I had to pick one card trick, I'd say Put by Art Paul Wilson. Well, I'm kind of making it a 2, but I can't. Just search it. It's brilliant. It's such a good impromptu card trick, and it's beautiful. Just yeah, I love doing it. Great for magicians too. But put by Arthur Wilson, just find it, watch the video, treat yourself. I won't count that as number 2. I said Omni Deck is well, number 3 rather. But yeah, put by Arthur Wilson's a great honourable mention of a card trick.
Okay, we like an honourable mention here.
Yeah,
terrible.
They're all good. But I think there's a couple of interesting points with the Omni Deck. Is the Omni Deck is, it's the punchline to a joke. It is the twist in a film. It's the surprise ending that they're not going to see coming. It doesn't matter how many times they've seen a trick before, because the Omni Deck is in its own capacity and effect separate to what's happened before it.
Yeah.
They are never going to be aware of it coming. So even if they've seen the Omni Deck before, they're still going to be surprised by it. They're still going to have that shock moment. They're still going to have the twist. It doesn't matter. And there are different versions of it. You got the Paul Daniels version, the Paul Harris version, sorry, where it just goes solid. And there is Joshua Jay's version where it turns into
Prison Phantom Deck.
Yeah, I think it's just a great a thing to have, and like you said, I think it doesn't really matter. It's such a powerful, amazing moment.
It is
just surprising.
And I think, as you said, because I think because there was this scaremongering of too many people are doing it, a lot of people stopped doing it. I was like, great, thanks, so even better. But it's you don't hear it. I mean, look, if I'm at gigs, the one I hear a lot of someone else did it, it's normally double cross, but double cross is pretty great. So yeah, do you know what I mean? But no, Omni Deck for me, I think it's the way it's done. I think that was a big part of the issue, in my opinion, my humble opinion.
Well, I think it's a great one in at number 2/3. Let's go to number 4 then. What's in your 4th spot?
Okay, number 4. So we're stuck on an island and you want to do other things. And I thought this is a great multiple tool to have, because isn't it cool to float things? Venom ITR real. So Venom, it's brilliant. And I'm lucky enough to know Arthur Chavray a little bit. And it was great to see him again at Blackpool. And whatever that guy does is phenomenal. And I know this is from the Magi factory that they also produced this, and there's the new version out now. I believe it. I have the original one down here as well. But it's so good because you've got this dual system. I'll be very careful what I say. But with this now, you can levitate, you can do haunted decks, you can do PK touches. I mean, the ring stuff from the original on this, where you can make a ring jump from hand to hand, looks beautiful. Slow motion when you drop a ring and it pauses and floats in time in midair, and then it can go back up or down. As I said, you can do like haunted decks with it, and you can float anything. And if you're on an island, you want to pick up a leaf and float it, you can do it. It's cool. I think it's great. And I think the new way they have it, and again, I won't tip it, the new way they have it, where you're weightlessly throwing this coin and it bounces from hand to hand. Yeah, there's things to help you on a desert island do that, so you can do that as well. And I so trying to be so cryptic, but the Venom rooms are brilliant, and I loved how they pushed it again, and they took what was brilliant and made it even better, allowing you to still do all that stuff before, but so much more. And Arthur and the team have just nailed it. But again, it's a great thing to have that's different, and you can do so much with it.
Well, we love Devil's Advocate on this podcast, and the devil has just popped up because you've just selected a utility item.
Well, you're not allowed a utility.
You are allowed a utility. That's fine, and I think it's a great choice. All of the stuff that I've seen on the Venom Pro is just phenomenal, but you're only allowed to do one trick with your Venom.
Okay, so if I do one trick with it, it's probably the ring thing, the ring across, when you make the ring jump from hand to hand, and then you can do it in slow motion. So it's that whole routine sequence he has. So you borrow a finger ring, which can be borrowed, which is amazing in itself. You can hold it in one hand, and then instantly it just floats across to the other hand. You can then pick the ring up and you drop it. It will pause in midair like time is frozen, and then it will either shoot back up to your fingers or it goes back down to your hands. You can give the ring straight back to the spectator and clean as a whistle.
Well, again, I think it's really a great choice. And just looking at the first 4, when we said at the head of the podcast that I thought that maybe you'd have quite a quirky list, 100%. You know, we've gone from a coin trick to an Omni Deck to director's cut, which are movie cards, and now to a ring floating. So in terms of
out there.
in terms of, you know, when they talk about if you've got a photographer at your event and each time you're doing a trick they take a photo, how diverse those photos will be. I mean, we've got this incredible coin trick where you're going to have the solid block, you're going to have these movie cards, and now a ring floating in midair. I think that's great so far.
Well, thank you. I think because look, I could have easily gone down the route of picking tons of gimmicks, because gimmicks are what I love. But I think, I tried to. What would you, in my eyes, it's what could you not live without doing? That was my kind of thing. And again, you don't want to be doing the same thing over and over and over. So I mean, you could probably pick loads of card routines, for example. But
well, we've still got a few more to go. So let's go to number 5. What's in your 5th spot?
I did have something else, but I changed it this morning. I was going to go Turbo Stick by Richard Standards because I think it's great, but instead, I clocked it there in my office and I went, oh my God, I remember the first time I saw that, I fell in love with it. I thought it was so different. And this is out there. Distortion by Wayne Houchin. Now look, I know this is a one-trick pony thing. I remember the first time I saw this and it was like CGI is real and it's so good. And again, if we're not aware what this is, I believe Theory 11 first put this out, and it's you have a card picked. I think it's like the 6 of diamonds. You lose it back in the deck. You say we're going to try and find it, and of course you bring out the 4 of diamonds, which is not the card. You then hold it, and visually the pips on the 4 start to split and kind of float up the card to create 6 diamonds. And you give it a little wave and you can see the 6 in the corner. And then, of course, you hand it out and you're good to go. And I just think it's such a visual thing and something I would love to put back in. And I know this has been done so many different ways now moving forwards with various things. But when you go back to that original and look at it, and I've got my original one down here in a DVD case with a disc, which is unheard of. And the gimmick's in there. And I used it so much. If you know what it is, the back of it is so worn down you would not believe. But then, it's a thing of beauty. Distortion by Wayne Houchin, and Wayne Houchin is a phenomenal creator. I know he's done loads of stuff since that, but I've got tons of his stuff here, and I loved him because when he was kind of coming out, that's when I'm really sponging all this stuff in, and I loved the stuff he was coming out with, and like Stigmata and stuff, and he's got so many great things.
And I believe, if I remember rightly, he would have to do something at the end, of course, but then he would hand that card back to them.
Yeah. Sneaky little TC.
Yeah, there you go.
But I mean, because the visual of it and you see the 4 and the diamonds, then the 6 diamonds appear, but within the same card, you see the 6 in the top corner as well. And then you do the work to think, but it's a genius gimmick, and I think a start of all those types of gimmicks. And I think there's loads of people that use a lot of that kind of clever stuff and that kind of method for so many other things now, which is great. Lots of Spanish and Italian magicians love that kind of work and stuff. So you see loads of great gimmicks with them on it. But I think it's the original. I think it's brilliant. And it's I know it's like a one-trick pony, but it's so good, so good.
We did just have a phone call from Richard Sanders, though. He's not talking to you again.
Well, he might be later on.
Oh, okay. Give nothing away. Give nothing away. Well.
Hey everyone, Emilio here from Print by Magic, and I want to tell you all about the incredible service we are now offering here at Alakazam Magic. We can print any design you like onto premium bicycle card stock. Want a custom back deck to give your Magic a more professional feel? Need personalized decks as a wedding gift or corporate giveaway? Or maybe you've created a new trick and need custom gaff cards with altered pips or faces. We can do all of that, and unlike most printers, there's no minimum order. Whether you'd like one card, one full deck, or multiple decks, we've got you covered. Some of the biggest names in Magic already use Print by Magic, so if you've got an idea, we'd love to bring it to life. Head over to Print by Magic and let's make your dream deck a reality. Thanks, guys.
That's a great one at number 5. Let's go to number 6 then. What's in your 6th spot?
Okay, now this is so out there. This is so random. And I was like, I just wanted to put this on the list because I think it's so important to remember your roots and where you started. And for me, when I was, goodness me, something like 12 or 13, I'm a Welshie, you wouldn't know. You can't really hear it. My parents are Londoners. But we lived down in Wales, and every Christmas we'd go up to London because my parents were from Chiswick and all around that way in London. And my Uncle Dan, my mum's brother, he would say, right, I need to go and buy some fancy shirts in London because he works in finance and stuff. He says, but if you're good for the day, we'll go to a certain place afterwards. I was like, all right, okay. This is like day after Boxing Day or something. And we go to a magical place called Hamleys. And I waited all thing for this. And we went in and we were just looking at toys. We weren't looking at magic. I don't think I was really into it. I might have had a Paul Daniels set, but I wasn't into it. And then we see this chap demoing one trick, which we bought straight away, along with a wizard deck, which is a taper deck. But the main thing we bought was dynamic coins. And now look, I know this is so, in a sense, out there because you think, oh, what do you do? Every time I see this, we were in an antique seller not long ago, my daughter, where we live, just down here, and she's 11. And we were in this antique shop and they had it in Dynamics coins in there, not a Marvin's version, but another version for £2 British. Brand new and sealed. I was like, we're getting it. And then she was doing it on the way back. We conveniently went via a pub and she was doing it within seconds. And yeah, the dynamic coins, I'm sure everyone knows what this is, but it's these two little brass caps and you have a brass ring. And as soon as you put the brass kind of cap down on the table and you lift it up, a stack of 10p coins appear or quarters appear. And then you put the other one down and they vanish from under this cap and they go to that cap. They can then penetrate through the back of each other through the solid brass. And at the end, they can all vanish. And it is a phenomenal bit of engineering and it's beautiful. It's great. And that is truly what got me into all of this. I really believe so. And even the little thing of like having the stack of pennies, like there's loads of cool things. But again, this is all Marvin Burglass, you know, and I bumped into it at Blackpool, Christ, about 5-6 years back. And it was outside the Ruskin crossing the road in the middle of the day. And I was an absolute fangirl. And I was like, you know, I need a picture, you know, and it's because he was the guy that kind of started it in a funny sense. And he was super nice. And yeah, as a very grown man, it was slightly awkward, but he was lovely. So, but yeah, dynamic coins, I think it's so good. And if you get the box from Hamleys, you get the vanishing thing as well with it.
Well, it's one that we've actually had a surprising amount on.
Oh, really?
Podcast. Yeah, so it's maybe not as much of a curveball as you thought. But as you were talking about that, I was trying to think. There seems to be certain tricks in our industry which are almost like cultural phenomenons, you know, within our industry. Certainly in the UK, we've said before, if you went to London and you went to Davenport's,
this magical place in the world. It felt like you're walking on the set of Harry Potter or something. It was amazing.
It really was. But you'd always walk out with, you know, Rainbow Cascade or Card Warp, you know?
Yes, Roy Waltons. Yeah, for sure.
It was always the same tricks. But Dynamic Coin seems to be one of those tricks that has either come across people's lives in some way or, you know, they've discovered early on. And it really seems to have created a massive cultural thing, like historically. I wonder what it is about certain tricks that make them such a phenomenon in the world, really.
Well, I'd love to know. I'd have a #1 bestseller then that way. But no, I think it's these things that stay around. And when I use like little brass things, it seems like quite an old, archaic and looking like an older thing. But I just don't know why, but it has stayed. And I think, honestly, the mass of that is due to probably Marvin's magic. I think that's a big part of it. The fact that they've kept these things for years and like energized coin. Like, I mean, the first time I saw that, I had no idea. And now they have Roller Coaster, which is like it. And it's still brilliant. And I've got all of those as well. They're great. But yeah, I think Marvin has so much to do. Marvin, like I know him. Like I think Marvin has like so many. he started so many careers and through his dad's legacy and into his legacy and becoming Hamleys and all this. And again, I used to live in Wales, so it's really rural and stuff. And there was one tiny little toy shop in this town, like half an hour, 40 minutes away. And they had some of the Marvin's range, you know? And I remember writing to him as a kid, asking if I could do dealer dems in the shop and stuff, like genuinely. And I had a very polite reply saying no, but it was still very nice, you know? But, and yeah, I remember having an A4 Marvin's catalog, like a booklet pamphlet thing. I've still got it. It's here somewhere, you know. But yeah, I do think he has a lot for keeping these things alive. And then, yeah. And of course, similar to that, things like Coin Squeeze, which I need to buy a new one of because that's another great bit of kit. And whenever if I do a show or I know this kid wants to get into Magic, I will buy them a dynamic coins because I think it's just such a great foundation, you know, kind of thing of vanish, reappearance, transition, kind of like cups and balls. You know, you can learn all of this stuff. With dynamic coins, it's kind of that, but a lot more easier to do.
Well, it's a great one in at number 6, and it takes us to the tail end of your 8 with 2 more to go. So what's in at number 7?
Number 7. Okay. I said I wouldn't do this, but I'm going to shamelessly pick one of my own things. And only because, and I know you shouldn't, and it's one of these things, but, and this is not like, this is just generally something that I came up with years ago, and then it kind of came out and it was kind of gone. And then I didn't have the rights to it, so I couldn't really do much with it. So I was always coming up with ideas. I was like, oh, well, put it on a shelf kind of thing. And then I got the rights back to it recently, because it was with Magic Tau at the time, and it came back to me, which is really, really nice of Costas to, you know, to do that and allow that. You know, huge respect there. And so now I was like, right, okay. So I kind of soft released it for Blackpool. And even since Blackpool, I've now come up with other hands make it even fairer. So like it's forever evolving and changing, and I'm so happy with that. And that is my build change, which you spoke about being called Flash. I generally believe, not to be too ego, it's the best thing I've ever come up with. I'm not saying it's the best trick in the world, but it's the best thing that I've ever come up with. And I think it's super visual. There's so many different changes to it. It is coming out in the next few months with a massive kind of rebuff, refurb, and the access to something that you can add to it, which is a big library of ways what you can change into notes and stuff, which I'm forever compiling, and the list keeps getting bigger. And it's just the build change. It's all in your hand. It's easy to do. You can show a receipt, a blank piece of paper, a voucher, kids drawn money, Monopoly money, anything you want to. And then literally by opening it, it instantly changes into a bill, a real bill, you know, polymorph bills or dollars or UK, anything, any currency in the world. And it turns into it, and it's super visual. And you're not relying on, you know, can I say magnets, elastic, that kind of stuff. You're not relying, not tipping a method, but you're not relying on that stuff to do it. It's literally, well, I would say science, but it's literally, it just works, and it's great. And I'm really, really proud of where it is. And again, it keeps evolving every time.
Well, I can talk it up for you because this is one of the very few items that I purchased at Blackpool. And I actually sent friends of mine over, and they came back immediately with one as well.
Thank you. Yeah.
So it just goes to show, to me, it was a bit of a no-brainer because this is something that can sit in my wallet. I'm not having to worry about having stacks of bills, which I know sometimes is a bit of a thing. It's not normally the kind of trick that I would do either, but it's just nice if we've got a young person at the restaurant and I can just do this quick, snappy thing. The only really annoying thing was the day, that night that we purchased it, we went back to the hotel and I showed the team. They were impressed by the trick, very unimpressed by my handling of it. So Jenny then took hold of it and did it substantially better than I did. She did it to your level.
Well, I saw somebody do a video of it online quite recently, actually, selling like some masterclass course thing. It was like a visual grab, and they did it better than me. So that really annoyed me. but it was really good. It's a little lacky thing, but with the teachings of it, that's what covers it, and it's the way you handle it, really. But yeah, I know from not doing this video, but I have it in the back of my phone. It's like a clear, phone case thing. So mine's stuck in the back there. And again, as I said to you earlier on, I've got some here. So these are the other versions of it as well, and so on. So which I'll show you later on. But yeah, it's just forever evolving, forever changing. It's in your wallet. It's in the back of your phone. It's always there. If you're getting a bill at a restaurant, it's an easy go-to to whatever. And I love that kind of stuff, that kind of bill stuff. But again, I came up with this. This is one of the first things I ever brought to like, maybe second thing I brought to like the magic community years and years and years and years ago. I think it was like 2011 or something like that. And I discovered the method by mistake, which is even more fun. And I went, oh, we could apply that to this, and it works. So, but yeah, as I said, it's really easy to do. And I'm forever adding different routines and ways to present it and stuff. So, but ultimately, it's the easiest build change I personally think you can do. I always say if you can open a bit of paper, you can do it. That's literally the science in it. Yes, you need to practice to finesse it, but that's with anything. But I love it, and it keeps growing on me. And sorry to do a shameless plug.
It's the method for me that got me, because it's the prop itself which is doing the work for you. Essentially,
Yeah, literally. Yeah.
nothing can break on it unless you tear it. It's just a really clever, solid method for this kind of effect.
Well, thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, we already know, because of a little hint earlier on, that your last effect may be created by a certain creator. So let's find out which one of those effects is in your final spot.
For sure. Well, Richard Sanders, as we said, I would love you to guess what you think it is.
I'm going to say any card.
No.
Oh,
I think it's the ultimate compendium of magic, but there is one specific thing, because I know we said about utility stuff. Fiber optics. Now, I know people go rope magic. I get it. I've done this for, obviously you do this for kids. I do this for adults when I do like a stand-up cabaret piece, because again, it's the way you present it and so on. And it's essentially the unequal ropes is what you're doing. But then it goes from that to on steroids, you know? So you have a short one, a medium one, and a long one. Of course, for adults, for jokes, for kids, there isn't. And then you show the ropes. They all become the same length. But then you take one of them out of the way and you're left with two. And it's this rapid bombardment. And I always based it on like Paul Daniels' Chop Cup, right? I saw him do that on the stage when I was 16. I was wearing double denim, and I kissed Debbie McGee on the cheek, and there's a picture of it somewhere. The double denim picture's a treat, yeah. And I remember I was on a balcony in Carmarthen watching this show, and it was like my focus just zoomed in at him, and then I was in front of him like it was close up. That's how engaging it was. But his Chop Cup, it's the rapid part of the top is on the bottom, so the bottom, the top of the cup is inside the cup is on top of the that kind of thing. And that's what I do with the fiber optics. And because Richard Sanders gives you I was going to say Richard again, like I know him. But because Richard Sanders, I've got to stop doing it. Because Richard Sanders gives you so many options on this DVD set of so many moves and ways to piece it together. And he does give you full routines as well. And it's literally, I've just taken that main unequal ropes routine, but instead of doing it slowly and all the links and stuff, I just do it rapid fire for that one phase. And then you stick a little Wayne Dobson joke at the end of it as well, you know, and then, so you do that and then you go back and you can do moving, knot and whatever. But ultimately that if you get that, it's probably a download now, I'm showing my age. But if you get that DVD, that download fiber optics, and you need to learn rope magic, I think, and I'm not being rude to like Tarbell and things like that. I think it's just the ultimate modern compendium for rope magic. I really believe that. And I use it in kids, I use it in adults. So yeah, who would have thought rope magic, fiber optics by Richard Sanders?
Well, I think it's a great one. I should have guessed that was the one, because in terms of closing out your list, you started off with Imagination Coins, Coin Trick, Omni Deck, which is sort of a weird moment. Director's Cut was film cards. Venom Reel, you mentioned the floating ring. Distortion is kind of like a morphing card. Dynamic Coins, which is another coin trick, but a strange thing with these brass gaps. Flash, which is a bill change. So, of course, it makes perfect sense that it wouldn't be a card trick in there. It would be ropes at this point. Yeah. It makes absolute sense.
Yeah, it's all over the shop. I do apologize, but in a sense, I don't. I think because if you were stuck on an island, like you don't want to do the same card tricks over and over again. 59 Elmsley counts later, and you're doing different routines. I think it's fun to have that variety. You're gonna have look. I'm seeing this as you're stuck on this island for the rest of your life, right? And yeah, those cars are gonna be so worn. We mean like pub cars in a minute, sanding them and everything. But like, I think you got to have that variety of life and all these different things. And there's so many stuff I'd love to put on there, but I generally wanted to go with stuff that I use. I'm always trying to adapt and change these things and keep these things. But a lot of this list, this is the stuff that I fall back to and I go, safe. That's like, like your home, the stuff that you know well. And I think it's important. Yeah, it's great to splice in new tricks into your set all the time. But for me, I want to be able to, especially if you're being paid, you want to be able to go somewhere and know you can deliver. And if I can do these things inside out, then I can focus on entertaining and patter and whatever else and so on.
Well, I think it's a great, diverse list. But Chris, we did give you 8 tricks. Now, you got 3 more items, but you're only allowed 1 each of these. So I want you to imagine that you're about to dig a big sandy hole and you're going to throw something inside never to be seen again. We're going to bury it on your island. It's going to be banished forever. What are you going to banish?
Oh, I'm going to get so much hate for this, I tell you now. Right. I need to say it, then I need to preface it, okay? And really clear this. Are you ready? So the first line is Rubik's Cube magic. No, wait. The second line is when it's done as a skill. Now, if you get a Rubik's Cube magic and you bang it and it turns into M&Ms, brilliant. I think that's so cool. It's different. If you get a Rubik's Cube and it's not solved, but then you throw it in the air and instantly the whole cube's solved in the air, that's magic. That's great. But when let me see careful what I say this. But when the problem is, what is the world record for solving a Rubik's Cube? It's something stupid seconds, right? And that's the problem. I think it comes across as a skill in some cases. And again, each their own performers. I know Tom Crosby. I love him dearly. And we had a good chat at Blackpool. And I just think it's that mix of it being, well, if it can be done as a skill, and now there's competitions of these one-hand solvers, right? So if my hands, and I'm probably overthinking this, if my hands go in a bag, and it's done kind of thing. And that's my only thing. And when it's seen as a skill, or it could be done as a skill, that's when I'm a bit like, I don't know. Because we had that big phase a couple of years back when it was just Rubik's Cubes magic. I think one Blackpool, it was just all Rubik's Cubes. I'm sure it wasn't, but I'm sure. And yeah, I just think when it comes across as something that could be done as a skill, that's when it pulls me away from the magic. And this could be applied to a lot of magic stuff, but that was the first thing that came to my head when we first discussed, when you said about doing this. And I was like, yeah, I think that's it. But to pull away from it, one thing I'm not a fan of as well, which is like a caveat, is misleading magic trailers. I think it's cool to hype tricks. I agree. Have all the cool shots in the video. I agree. But at least put a solid clip of that trick on the trailer too, or as a second trailer or whatever. But I think when you get some tricks are chopped and edited in a certain way in a trailer, when in actual fact, you're seeing like the last phase of the first phase and the second phase, there's the last phase and all this kind of stuff like that. It's a little bit like, I don't know, but just a clean, have all your cool bits when you're talking about it and bang, 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 and it all changes. Oh, yeah, amazing, great. But then have one relatively solid clip in its entirety. I know the problem with that, though, is it might tease a lot of methods. More if you're selling a method opposed to a visual trick or whatever. But I think sometimes magic trailers can be, just one smooth clip is all we need, and then a bit of, but still build the hype train. So, but yeah, that's just to take light off me talking about Rubik's Cube magic. So.
Well, we're going to curve back there now. So let's talk about the Rubik's Cube magic. I think to an extent you have a point, because I do think that some people may find Rubik's Cube just as a notion and as an idea a bit boring, and to watch somebody solving a cube for 3 minutes may be seen as a bit boring. I would caveat that, or I would play devil's advocate, so to speak, not that devil's advocate, a new devil's advocate, and say that maybe solving a cube would show that the cube is normal and it's a normal cube.
Yes.
And if you're a solid performer, then you can make that interesting. And that a Rubik's Cube is seen as such a difficult thing in the public's eye. I mean, anyone who solved one knows it's not that difficult, really. It's just memorizing some steps. That when you do solve it, even if it is for 2 minutes, it's still seen as impressive. What do we think about that?
I'm a 2-minute mark man with a Rubik's Cube. and I'd learned to solve it like the step way, the kind of layer by layer section way, all the corners and all that stuff like that. And I love doing it. I got a little speed cube, and every now and then it's a great thing for anxiety and things like that. Takes your brain out of it. It's a great little thing to have. I love solving a Rubik's Cube, and it used to be I was a cool uncle for a bit because I could solve a Rubik's Cube in under 2 minutes, you know. But yeah, and then and again, I love Rubik's Cubes. I think they're great. But I just think when it's that when it could be done because it's a skill, opposed to it being a magic trick. Yeah, predictions slightly different, like, you know, but yeah, it's just an opinion, Jamie. That's all it is. Well, it's not right and it's not wrong.
It's a brilliant opinion. It's great, and that's the whole point of this segment. I know that there are also like mentalists, for example, that don't like looking too skilled with a deck of cards for the same reason.
Yeah, for sure. Massively, for sure. Yeah, because again, it's that attitude of, yeah, well, I could just, you know, get it and whatever. And you get some that bumble a bit. Like the ignorance of, in a sense of, like Tommy Cooper, for example. He was genuinely a very good magician, but the whole bumble point was to take you off the fact that he wasn't all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think it's it's a mixture of that. So but yeah, no, I don't hate Rubik's Cube magic. It's just when it's seen as a skill. You know, I'm just trying to be easy, you know?
Well, Richard Sanders phoned up and was upset earlier. Tom Crosby's just phoned up. Also,
Tom's all right. I love Tom. Yeah, every time I see him, we have a good old chat, and Tom's great. But and I think like when they appear as pictures and stuff like that, I think that stuff's really cool. Because I think, to solve it within anything, to make it a pitch, that's blooming hard. But like, I don't know. Yeah. I might be going back on myself here, but yeah, no.
I think it's a valid point.
It's a hard thing to do because I think you don't really want to banish anything in magic, because if it's not working, you want to see more of it to convince you that it's good and it should stay. That's the kind of point, I see on it. So you don't really want to get rid of anything. A lot of the time, is if it's not good, it's because it's not done good. And that's why you don't. I mean, look, for example, let's push back to BGT. Years and years ago, when Simon Cowell traditionally hated magicians, and it wasn't that he hated magicians, he just seen, in a sense, ones that he didn't like or not as good or than before, and then a couple go on that he likes, and it changed his whole scope, and now he's in love with it, for goodness. And I just want to say, Rafi on BGT, phenomenal, absolutely brilliant. I know this is completely off segment, but I remember meeting him once at a convention a couple of years back, and I loved his energy then, and with like coins and cards, he's brilliant. And to see him on that, and it was such a good connecting routine, and it felt great. So I can't wait to see what he does next. And I'm not a big fan of follow up the BGT stuff, but that I will be for sure, because I loved what he did. I loved it. Very good, solid set.
He was brilliant, and for once he didn't drink that egg. Those that have seen him perform will understand why.
Oh God, yeah. And it threw me. I didn't spot it. It threw me. That caught me off guard, and I was like, nice. And that was such a cool update of other ways that can be done. So that was, honestly, I can't wait to see what he does.
He's diverting again from the Rubik's Cube stuff. So we've thrown all of the Rubik's Cubes that are being demonstrated as skill into the hole. They're gone, right? No one's going to do that again. Now it leads us on to your book, Chris. What did you put in your book position?
This is I have a few books. I don't have a lot of books, I'll be honest. I'm more of a autobiography man, opposed to reading like novels and stuff like that. So reading books for me is always the best of times. I've got a mini stack down here. But of course we have standards like J. Booby's Modern Coin Magic, World Road to Card Magic. We know all that. But this is the Bible, and I can show you physically, but maybe not for the audio listeners. This is Jay Sankey's Unleashed. This was written by John Rauscher Boomer, I want to say. But he basically took tons and tons of Jay's routines. It's beautifully illustrated as well. And there's so much gold in there. And I got that again when I was, oh God, that book's, I don't know when it was printed. It's got to be years old. I've had this book for years. And yeah, or it doesn't say on it, but I've had it for years. And it had so many of the things he was actually releasing at the time as well. So like Holy Moly's in there and his Bill Switch routines and stuff. There's so much good stuff in there. His tournament is there when tournament stored is when the book test where the page comes out and it ends up in an envelope and a ghost something it's called. Leaving homes in there with the key on the string and so on. And so you get a load of stuff that's been released within the book. And there's so many little hidden, weird, kooky gems and odd things. There's a great card trick in there called Divine, which I kind of slightly adapted. And it's something that I do now all the time. It's like my pipe and slippers moment. And I love showing magicians it as well because it's really fun. You do the worst switch of a card in the world, but nobody ever sees it because the trick's going on so fluently.
Jay Sankey comes up an awful lot on the podcast. One effect in particular, with a paperclip, comes up an awful lot.
So good, great. I did that for years and years and years. I'd even tempted to bring it back, but I got other folded kind of card plot things and so on. But yeah, I mean, he was super important when I was getting into Magic that age, watching Short and Sweet on, wait for it, VHS, and Sankey 99 on VHS, still got them in the loft.
Do you want to explain what VHS is?
So a VHS is it's a big cassette tape. Yeah. But and having to manually rewind it in a JVC video record. Yeah, this is it. But no, and like watching him do an Elmsley count with 4 pieces of bread with one with a hole in it. Like, I mean, this is Sankey too. And I think that's where, if I do anything that's a little bit weird, a bit kooky, a bit offset, I'm pretty sure that's where it's come from, is Sankey, because he was willing to take these things and just do the most bizarre and odd tricks. And he did that DVD when he was Boris, and he wore like a big black fuzzy wig and he had glasses on. He was pretending to be a mentalist called Boris. It was absolutely nuts. And he even did the explanations in that voice and stuff. It was crazy. But yeah, Sankey's Unleashed. It's an absolute Bible of a book. If you can get it, just honestly, you will not be disappointed. It's the one book I recommend all the time. You get to see it. I would say it's like a greatest hits of Sankey from his early years, and beautifully illustrated as well. And yeah, honestly, it's a great book. I miss anything in there from cards to coins to rope to mentalism. Like, it's all over the shop. But yeah, Sankey's Unleashed.
And in fairness, looking at your list in terms of the diversity of it, that's the kind of book that I can imagine that you would have really enjoyed going through and just seeing all of those different ideas with different props and different ways that you could go with stuff. So, I think it perfectly reflects your list as a book choice.
Oh, good. I think I owe a lot to Sankey. I think he's at Blackpool this year. I didn't get a chance to see him. I'm so gutted. But yeah, it was some great stuff there. And again, I have a load of his stuff. Obviously, like Holy Moly is brilliant. Let's do a trick with some washers. Like, it's so random, but it looks so great. And yeah, I know so many things have been based on that as well since. So it's like a building block of that kind of stuff.
Well, that leads us perfectly onto your item. So this is a non-magic item that you use for magic. I know so many things in your repertoire use non-magic items for magic, so it's going to be interesting to see what you put in here.
Okay, I'll tell you one thing I would take, and this is so weird and silly, but I recently invested in a camera, right? Bear with me. There's a slight problem to this. You need something to upload it to look at the pictures. But it's what they call a camp snap camera, right? It has no screen on it. So when you take a picture, you have to look through the lens field, like on an old wind-up camera. But then the benefit is you can't sit there and go through the pictures. And the best thing is, about a week later, when you look back at it, or 2 weeks, when you finally upload it, you then get to see all these raw, uncut pictures that look like they were shot in a Kodak film. I've got some from Blackpool, and look, you look terrible in most of them because you don't have these anti-filter blur, wrinkle smooth, all this stuff. But they're so raw and things look beautiful in them. And it's, for me, when we go away and with like my kids and also the wife and stuff, I get, there's the camera, just take pictures, you know, and the kids are snapping away with these things. And even if you were stranded on an island, I think it'd be really cool to have stranded all these memories, these weird things, and look back at it and go, no, that was probably a good time in a funny sense. And it's so good because once you take the picture, you can't see it. You don't know how it's come out. And the best is when you say, oh, excuse me, could you take a picture of us? And you give it to a random person because you don't know what their photography skills are like. If they use their mobile phone, they can see the picture straight away. But with these, like, almost, they're digital, but they're disposable cameras where you can't see the picture on the screen. Honestly, it's a beautiful thing to look back at and cherish memories. I don't know how I'd look back at it. I might need a phone or a laptop. But that's not the point, Jamie. The point is in the message. I think it's like, be present, be in the moment. And I think that with this camera, you genuinely can be. You know, they're a cool thing. They're really fun to use.
Well, no, I think that's a great choice. I think that there's many really cool tricks with photos now as well. You know, there's something that's timeless about photos.
Yeah.
And when you see a black and white photo, it tells you it was from a certain period. When you see a kind of blurred one with, you know, mullets, you know that's from a certain
for sure.
Period in time. There's so much that can be done with photos, you know.
Even when you watch a film and you can see the grain on this because it was shot with film, it takes you back to that time, that period. I think it was like and even one thing is hilarious, this is way off key now, but when, like, The Walking Dead, for example, that spanned for over 12, 13 years, but they still used a lot of the same cameras they used from the beginning. So the film quality, of the video, it never changed, and it kept it in a time period, even though it was like so many years later. But no, I think, and you'll know with a lot of your stuff, because you do a lot of, in a sense, also like horror-based macabre, you know, that kind, with those images. They're so important to tell a story. I got some great decks of cards from Blackpool from this stat. I think they were called Room 1 or something. And they're like these Sherlock Holmes and Jack the Ripper cards. And they're absolutely beautiful. But even when you look at them and you put them all together, they make a map of London, which is another sad, geeky thing. But they feel, they look, and that's is so important with photos. And when you see that picture, and really quickly, whilst you're here, talking about some of your bits as well, I was looking through my drawers and I found this the other day.
Oh, wow.
Which is your amazing trick, Phantasm. I love this so much, by the way. So I'm going to give you an honorable mention. And it was a really cool spin on like a card warp almost. And I loved it. And I think it was so different. And you get this really cool handout at the end. So hats off to you, because it's very different to a lot of the stuff that you've done as well. So yeah, I love Phantasm. And again, I have it as a DVD. I'll work that out. So again, another archaic thing. Pushing back to the other stuff, there's loads of tricks you could mention. I love all the Tenyo stuff, things like Blue Crystal, all that kind of weird things. But in sense of tricks that you would do or would want to do, I hope my 8 list is there. And I hope the Rubik's Cube doesn't offend too many people.
Well, I think a disposable camera is the best way to send out your list. So let's go back over it. We had Imagination Coins, Omni Deck, Director's Cut, Venom, but we're using it for the ring flight. We've got Distortion, Dynamic Coins, Flash, Fiber Optics. Your banishment is Rubik's Cube magic, but presented as a skill. Your book is Unleashed, and your item is a disposable camera. I think that's a great, quirky list with lots of different things that people can look up as well.
Well, thank you, man. This has been so much fun. And thanks for when we chatted in Blackpool and you mentioned this, I was like, I was on board with that and thinking it's always good to chat. And it means a lot that we asked, for myself to do this. So, yeah.
And if people want to find out more about you, about your tricks, if you lecture, all of that good stuff, where can they go to?
Oh, brilliant. Oh, thank you. Yeah. I'm in, I would say Instagram, it's Chris Webb Magic and stuff. I rarely post. I'm terrible for social stuff. But magic tricks and all that kind of stuff, chriswebbvault.com. So yeah, Chris Webb, VAULT.com. And that'll have everything on there. If there's ain't from Blackpool, they will be on there too. I literally updated that the other day. They are quite limited because some of them are going to go out to wholesale in the short term. But yeah, whatever's on there's on there. And if you want to have a look, great. Sign up to mailing list, you'll get free stuff, and that's pretty much it, really. But no, thank you very much, and yeah, thanks for allowing me to be part of this world.
Well, thank you for coming along. And like Chris said, please do go to his website. I do believe Flash is on there as well. So
yes, it is. Yeah.
If you want to check it out, check it out. Watch Chris do it. It was actually in one of our vlogs. I think it was. It would have been Horseshoe Day. So if you look at Horseshoe Day, you'll actually see Chris doing Flash on there.
I actually took the link of your YouTube video and put it on my webpage so you can watch Flash. So
there you go.
So I've linked your video to underneath the trick because I want people to see it, kind of what it looks like live and what you kind of saw. So yeah, that was the best way. There are trailers and bits coming for it at some point, but I've just not had a chance to get around to it yet.
Well, go there, check it out, and check everything else that he has to offer because he's got some great tricks. And don't forget, if you want to be a part of one of these, we do have Stranded with a Stranger. So you can send in your list of 8 tricks, 1 banishment, 1 book, and 1 non-magic item to sales@alakazam.co.uk. Please include a little bio so that we get to know a bit about you. And of course, the reasons for those tricks, like Chris has done so wonderfully in his list. And of course, we'll be back next week with another episode. But for now, have a great week. Goodbye.
The news is out. The 1914 has found a new home. We are proud to announce that Alakazam Magic are now the proud custodians of the 1914. What does this mean for you? Simply put, everything you love stays exactly where it belongs. The aesthetic, the quality, the philosophy. The website remains unchanged. Your instructional content is safe. The classics that defined the 1914 will be restocked and made available once again. And with our industry-leading infrastructure and customer service behind the scenes, the future is stronger than ever. But this isn't just about preservation. Work has already begun on a series of new 1914 releases. Projects that have been quietly evolving for years and are finally ready to see the light of day. This is the next chapter, built on respect for the past, driven by belief in the future. Thank you for your continued support. Thank you for coming along with us on this journey.